everyone, welcome back to the A Study Studio channel. Today I'm going to be talking about revision apps and online scams to do with revision. I'm sure everyone's seen AI revision apps, expensive courses and grade 9 guarantees. And if you're a GCSE student right now, you've probably seen all of these. But here's the truth. A lot of these revision resources, they're overhyped, they're overpriced, and in some cases are just a waste of money. I will be talking about some specific ones later on in the video, but I don't want to go too deep in case someone gets angry. So in this video, I'm going to break down why apps like Medley AI aren't as good as they seem. I'm not hating on Medley specifically, but we're going to talk about it. The biggest revision scams that students fall for, and what should you be doing instead. So a lot of my videos are just paper recaps, but I think today I want to talk about these scams. I am recovering from a cold, so if I sound a bit blocked up and congested, that's why. So we're going to start with the rise of AI revision tools. So you've seen things like Medley AI, there's also Dola AI, things like that, and like Goth Math or something like that. So one of my students uses that all the time and I tell him not to. These platforms are being marketed everywhere, specifically on TikTok, but everywhere. And they claim that they can generate you perfect notes, they can create flashcards instantly, and basically do your revision for you. That sounds appealing, I understand that. Like, you want to try and get the best results you can, putting in the least amount of effort, right? But revision isn't supposed to be passive. You're supposed to put in effort for it. If someone is doing the thinking for you, so an AI, then you're not actually learning anything yourself. So Medley AI and similar, why are they not worth it? Well, one of the biggest issues is that it relies heavily on AI generated content. It's in the name, right? Medley AI. And that can lead to a few issues. So the information can be too simplified. It can miss key details from the spec, and occasionally it can be wrong. Obviously, no one wants to hear that their revision materials are wrong, but unfortunately the hard truth is AI can be wrong. In exams, specifically for English or GCSE biology, precision is so important. So you've heard me harp on about key terms in biology over on my TikTok, because it is just so important. It's the difference between getting a grade and not getting a grade, you know, like it's the difference between grade 9 and grade 4. So you've got to make sure you're being that precise, and they don't teach you exam technique, they focus more on content. And if you know all the content but you have zero idea of exam technique, you're not going to get any marks because you haven't answered the question in the way they want you to. So you could have the perfect notes and still get a low grade because you don't know how to apply them. There's also something called the subscription trap. Now, lots of these apps, they run on monthly subscriptions, and over time that adds up. But the question you need to ask is, what are you paying for? What are you paying for? Because most of the time, past papers free, revision videos free, mark schemes free. Obviously, like if you want the most up-to-date ones, like if I right now wanted to access the 2025 paper, that might not have been released yet. But you don't need the most up-to-date. You could use like the 2024 or the 2023. They're all for free. Like whatever exam board you're doing, Google it right now. Search, for example, GCSE English Language, Paper 1, Edexcel. Enter. Paper, mark scheme, examiner report for free, all on the internet. So if the platform is charging you every month, it needs to be something actually valuable, and a lot of these things aren't. They're just past papers regurgitated in different forms. There's some other revision scams that you need to avoid. So courses, grade 9 guarantee courses. So many people sell these courses where they say, get a grade 9 guaranteed or boost your grades instantly. But no one can guarantee your grade. Your results depend on your effort, your consistency, and how well you understand the exam. So obviously, people like tutors or some of these courses, they could help, but they cannot guarantee you a grade because it's down to you and what you're doing. So anytime you see a grade 9 guaranteed course for like £100. Scam, red flag, don't buy it. Also, overpriced revision notes. So some websites, they'll sell revision notes for like 20, 30, maybe even £50. I promise you nothing is worth that much, right? I sell my revision stuff. I make revision guides and stuff, and I sell those for free, for £3, for £7. I think my maximum price was £7, and that was because that was something that took me genuinely hours in year 11 to do. So nothing is going to be worth 20, 30 or even £50. Nothing. Don't waste your money, especially if it's something you can find online for free, like, because most of the time these are simplified versions of textbooks, or again, information you can find online for free. If you pay for the notes, it doesn't automatically mean it's a better version. For example, Save My Exams, free. Someone could be selling copied and pasted Save My Exams, made it look a bit nicer, and then selling it for 50 quid. Think about what you're paying for. Save My Exams, actually, they do have a subscription, but you can access like 5 topics for free every day, and also just use a different email and then you can access more, you know. Passive revision products, these are big ones. Things like aesthetic planners, pretty flashcards, and huge revision bundles. They can make you feel productive, but they're actually just passive revision, and that does not lead to high grades. So I sell a character profile like template. Now you could argue that that is passive revision, but only if you are buying it and not filling out. So I left all the spaces blank so that you can fill out yourself. It's just a way to organize it, and again, that's for free. I'm selling that free, so like, you're not wasting money if it doesn't help you, if you know what I mean. So don't buy any aesthetic planners. Also, don't waste your own time. So let me show you some notes. If you're going over your class notes and you're trying to make them look all aesthetic and pretty, so this is something I made. Not for exams, I made it to teach to my students, so it kind of has to look aesthetic and pretty. But like, if this is what you're wasting your time doing your GCSE notes, why girl? Like, do you want to see some of my A-level notes? Let me show you how non-aesthetic my A-level notes are. Does that look aesthetic to you? I mean, that's a practice essay, but let me show you my chemistry revision. This is the most unorganised notebook, is it? Unorganised, disorganised notebook. There you go. Does that look pretty? No. So don't waste your time. Fake exam hacks. You'll see TikTok saying things like, write really long answers, or use fancy words to impress the examiner. They don't care about that. They don't care about that. You'll see my videos where on TikTok or on YouTube where I'll give you proper tips. I'll never say use fancy words to impress the examiner. I'll give you example structures that you could use to make your answer clearer, because that's what they care about. They care about your clear points, accurate knowledge, and following mark schemes. There are no shortcuts, so don't just use those fancy words. I saw a TikTok the other day and it was like, oh, instead of saying this shows, say this illuminates. And like, yeah, that can be better if you're writing this shows over and over again, but like, don't go, oh, this illuminates, this exhibits. Like, don't bother, just write this shows. Like, unless you're doing it over and over again, then it's boring to read. Like, you want to have some variety, but like, just putting in fancy words is not going to impress the examiner. Like, they don't care. So you've heard me yap about all the bad things. What actually works? Well, active recall. Again, yap about active recall because it works. So don't just read your notes, because what the hell, waste of time. You want to test yourself on the content. So making flashcards never worked for me, but what I used to do instead was I used to go onto Blooket or Kahoot, and I would make myself a private quiz that no one else can see, and I would just test myself on everything that I got wrong. And then if I got like, oh, Quizlet's a good one as well. If I get like this one question that I get right consistently, remove it from the deck, get it gone, only add in the things that I'm getting wrong. And the things I'm getting wrong consistently, then I will go back and read my notes on it. But until then, waste of time. Number 2, past papers. If you're not doing past papers, you are missing out on easy marks. But importantly, we're going to do these properly. So when you're doing past papers, I don't want to see you sitting there and doing the whole paper. You're sitting there going, right, hour and a half, gone. No, break it up into questions. So think about, what questions do you normally get wrong? So I'm going to say, let's use biology for example. If I am consistently getting the long 6-mark answer questions wrong and the graph ones wrong, for example, and I'm getting the other stuff like the knowledge ones or like the describe the trend ones, fine, ignore, bin, not doing any more of them, only doing the long ones and the graph ones, you know? You have to be really honest with yourself. You cannot lie to yourself and only do the things that are easy. I know lots of people do that. I know I did that, so don't do it. Mark schemes. Read some mark schemes. I know it's boring as hell, but it will help you understand what the examiner is actually looking for. It's all well and good doing questions, but if you're not then going through the mark scheme, then how are you supposed to know what you're supposed to do? Do you know what I mean? And also practice exam techniques. So this is especially important for subjects like English, and you don't need any expensive tools to do this. All you need is to go youtube.com, hit the search and go, how to structure my answer for a question 3 analysis essay, and there'll be a video that tells you your structure, and then practice it. Easy peasy. And guess what? That was for free. You didn't spend any money. Sometimes AI can be useful, but we're not going to use it for the main strategy. So if you absolutely have to, then use it to generate you some questions or summarize a long text. But honestly, I'm going to tell you, don't do it. So part of one of my lessons I was doing, it was science. It was to do with global warming and climate change. And if the slide eventually loads, I will show you the picture. Oh, here we go. I know it's backwards, but it says, AI is destroying our planet. My laptop's gonna die. AI is destroying our planet, and we must act to check its growth and save ourselves. AI uses a lot of water, and it also uses an extreme amount of electricity. So I wouldn't make it part of your day-to-day revision. Only use it in emergency. I wouldn't, in fact, try and use it. Before you use AI, think to yourself, can Google answer this question? Can I ask someone else? Can I work this out by myself? And if you answer yes to any of those, don't use AI. If you answer no to any of those, still use your critical thinking skills and don't rely on AI. AI is a big scam, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's free right now to get everyone hooked on it and dependent on it. But what's going to happen once everyone can't live without it? They're going to start charging and charging and charging until eventually you're paying £1,000 per AI use, but you can't live without it. So, scam. I wouldn't do it. Anyway, my final advice is, before you spend any money on any revision app, course or resource, ask yourself, will this help me practice exam skills? Does it match my exam board? Because that's another thing. A lot of things that you see online, they're for the wrong exam board, and you're just going to waste your time and confuse yourself. And can you get this information for free? So can I find it on Google somewhere for free? Can I find it on YouTube? Can I find it on TikTok? If the answer isn't clear, it's probably not worth it. If you answer no to any of those, then don't get it. If you want to improve your grades and focus on what actually works, so consistent practice, past papers and understanding the exam, then please check out my videos. I know I've just spoken about how bad everything is, but I do try. I promise, I do try. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, please, and go follow my TikTok. It's at a study studio. I'll try and put it here. And let me know in the comments, what revision resources have you tried and were they worth it, and how much money did you spend? Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sorry to just shout at you about AI, but it is ever so important in this current world. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.